Just a few closing remarks as I end my time as your premier poet. I had a wonderful but very odd tenure as premier poet. My intentions when I was named premier poet in 2019 were, hey, I'm going to travel the state. I'm going to visit every club in person. And then a little thing called COVID interfered, as well as my family living situation changed a little bit as well. And I call myself your PPP, your pandemic premier poet, because pretty much the entire thing has been under a pandemic. But while, of course, many sad things have come with this pandemic, including, of course, the sickness and loss of life, I am glad that if someone had to be the pandemic premier poet, that it was me, because I had some of the tech skills to help continue some online versions of Spring Fling and Fall Rendezvous until we were able to get those going in person again. And I was glad to see when we did gather in person again at last Spring Fling in Anderson that, hey, PSI is still alive. And I know that you have an enthusiastic board of officers and you're about to meet your new premier poet, and I know you'll thrive under their leadership. So I discovered part of the fun of being premier poet is everybody kind of does it in their own style. And my favorite part of it was doing workshops, but also collecting your poems and setting them to images and then spreading those on social media. I thought that was just a really fun way to really, get myself immersed in your poetry, put my own interpretation on it through the imagery and try to help get a new platform for it. I like to think of it as you find a diamond and like, hey, what setting could I put this in to really show it off? So because that was something I really enjoyed, in lieu of doing a live presentation this weekend, what I did is, you remember how I did the Ogden Nash workshop back in the spring? I took the poems that you had written for that and I put them into a video. And so you will be able to see that if you go to our website, poetrysocietyofIndiana.org. So I want to thank each and every officer from 2019 to 2022. You've included me in decisions when you didn't have to. You showed me the utmost consideration and kindness. I really felt like part of the leadership team. I want to thank my husband, Spike, for being so supportive. A lot of times, back behind the scenes when we were online, he'd be hitting all the magic buttons for me. And I want to thank you, the membership, for being so utterly welcome and thoughtful. It has been an honor to serve you. With all that, here's the best part of the speech. I get to announce our new premier poet. So a little bit about this position. The premier poet of PSI serves for 3 years. The job is to promote poetry in Indiana. And each premier poet interprets this a little bit differently according to their own skill sets. Here are a few things in common that pretty much every premier poet does. They present a session at every statewide meeting, such as Spring Fling, Fall Rendezvous. They set parameters for and judge the premier poet category in PSI's annual contest. And they also set parameters for and judge the member contest in the PSI newsletter. So who chooses this person? According to the bylaws, it's the president, first vice president, and the current premier poet. And let me tell you, we had a difficult decision this year. Candidates could either nominate themselves or be nominated, but everybody submitted a packet saying, this was your service to PSI in the past. Here are 10 poems that you've written in the last 2 years. And it was a tough decision. There was more than one person that would have made an excellent premier poet. And so while we can only choose one, I really do want to give a shout out to those people. And I'm glad that we have such talented poets and dedicated members to choose from. Our new premier poet is a long-time member of PSI. They have a demonstrated record of helping other poets shine and find new audiences. They have served as an officer for many years, but they are perhaps best known as being PSI's publisher. Okay, so I know that the room is going wild with applause, and I really wish I could be there to congratulate Jenny in person, but since I can't, I will sing her accolades. I've served with Jenny for many years as an officer, and to be honest, I thought she deserved the title more than I did 3 years ago, and so I am thrilled to pass the baton to her. Jenny is a humble and generous soul. When Patrick Kalahar came to Noble Poets for the first time, that's my club, he said, "You know what? I'll bring my wife next time. You two would really hit it off." And he was just dead on. From the very first, Jenny impressed me with her gentle humor, her insightful observations of the human condition, and her humility. Her poetry is superb. My favorite examples are what I call her character sketches, which sometimes describe people with poignancy and sometimes with compassion. Her work often leaves you with a smile, sometimes with an ache, and always with a question. As I got to know Jenny more through serving together, I was thoroughly impressed with her work ethic. Jenny readily encourages other poets of all abilities through her work as an editor of The Last Stanza Journal, as a leader of her club, The Last Stanza, and through her many offices and behind the scenes work. She's a prime example of, the proverbial duck that, the feet are going paddling really, really fast underwater, but above the surface it's all smooth and gliding. Well, Jenny has been our duck feet for many years. She served as PSI treasurer. She has a special heart for encouraging younger generations to get involved in poetry. For 2 years, she served as our youth PSI chair and published one youth PSI anthology. She's also utilized her skills as a publisher many, many times to help our PSI members publish their own chapbooks. And I'm sure many of you at Fall Rendezvous would not have a published chapbook if not for Jenny Kalahar. Now, just for fun, I pulled out from my bookshelf lots and lots of books that Jenny has either published, edited, been published in, received an award in. There are so many. And just for fun, did you know that Jenny is not just a talented poet, she also publishes prose? And as these kind of fly, I know this is fast, but as these fly across the screen, you may notice here and there a cute pet. And Jenny's love of used books often find her way, and her pets often find their way into writing. Of course, ink to paper, Jenny has helped us publish the contest winners for many years. Apparently, I own a lot of Jenny's books. Some other fun facts about Jenny. She was nominated for the Indiana State Poet Laureate, a Best of the Net award, and twice for a Pushcart Prize in poetry. And when I put this online, I will also include a link to her blog so that you can check her out more. I know Jenny will serve PSI exceedingly well in the next 3 years. How she does so is up to her, but I think we might have a hint from her application packet, and I'd like to read a quote that she put. She said, "This position is about sharing the joy of writing, keeping poetry at the forefront of PSI members' awareness, with Facebook posts and prompts about helping the PSI board members maintain a sense of community within the group. Outreach and the welcoming of new potential members are also important. Writing is the loneliest art, and I certainly felt lonely as a poet before attending poetry groups, forming my own group, and eventually joining the State Society. I'd love to help make more lonely poets aware of PSI. It changed my life for the better. As the editor and publisher of a poetry journal, I've been surprised, and yet not surprised, remembering my own first journal acceptance, by poet stories of how much it means to them to have the poems they've carried in their proverbial pockets set free. I'm interested in continuing with the journal and publishing polished and experienced poets, but I'd also like to spark an interest in poetry in those who have never given creative writing a real go." So back to me. I just really look forward to seeing what Jenny does in these next 3 years, and I wish her the best.